Hey everybody, Ketwolski here, checking in with another one of our hashtag Star Trek Discovery Discussions videos. Today, of course, we're going to be reviewing Season 3, Episode 7, Unification III. Overall, my feelings about this episode are pretty good. It was a solid episode. I did really enjoy a lot of the elements that they included. I loved how they expanded on the lore of connecting the Vulcans to the Romulans. I also really enjoyed how it was kind of like a sister pseudo spin-off of Unifications 1 and 2 from the TNG show, where they had, Spock trying to reunify the two species after they had separated from, I think it was called the Sundering that was happening on Vulcan and the teachings of Sirach, and that's a whole other story right there. But yeah, so obviously the Romulans and the Vulcans separated. He was attempting to bring them back together, and in this one, they have been back together for quite a while. I assume that's kind of a natural progression of the Romulan homeworld being destroyed by the supernova and them kind of being scattered out as refugees that we saw inside of Season 1 of Star Trek Picard. So this felt like a really great natural progression of that. They even renamed Vulcan as Navarre, which I thought was really great. I like how they did all that stuff. I like the little pin that they had there that kind of merged all of the different symbols together with the raptor wings and also the Vulcan edict symbol and all that stuff. I thought that was really, really cool. I like how it's also like their personal communicator / transporter thing there too. Great little detail there. I really enjoyed that. I like the fact that they included different looking Romulans as well, because we know from Star Trek Picard Season 1 that there are different styles of Romulans, like the northern tribes, and they're thick-headed and all this other stuff like that. So I appreciated that they kind of built on that. And they built on a lot of stuff from the Picard show in regards to the co-op Melant, which was also featured in there, which we had the great return of Gabrielle Burnham. She apparently went to the future and got picked up there and kind of just started hanging out on Vulcan. It's kind of weird. I wish we had a little bit more backstory there. Maybe we'll get like a book or expanded story there as how she got involved necessarily with the Absolute Candor and the co-op Melant and all that stuff like that. But I liked that. It was really cool that she was back in that fashion. I wish we had a little bit more, but yep, that was really cool. I just like the expansion of all the connections back to Star Trek Picard and really the Next Generation. I thought it was really, really cool. I definitely enjoyed a lot of this episode. There were a lot of really great sequences, a lot of great elements. There is a specific subplot that I am intentionally removing from my feelings of the overall episode, because really this episode doesn't need to be dragged down by that. And that has to do with the Tilly situation, but I'll get into the Tilly situation here in a second. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I liked how Burnham was kind of like the focal point of this episode. Oftentimes she does kind of get shoved into the, feeling of needing to burden the entire universe onto her shoulders. And they address that very, very, very heavily in this episode. They continue to address it very, very heavily. And I think it's really interesting. I like how she, in this situation, is the sister of Spock. So she kind of is the kind of doorway back with the Federation into Navarre and kind of re-engaging in diplomatic relations with them, and that she, used the ancient, technique of like, listen, the scientific, trial, tribunal, or whatever it is. I like how they kind of combined all those elements, and they really kind of, connect Burnham back to Spock and back to her Vulcan heritage, and they even said that she's still a citizen of Navarre, which I thought was really, really kind of cool, really kind of touching there. I really, really enjoyed a lot of that. One of the key elements of this episode is really Michael Burnham and her kind of journey with trying to figure out what she's doing on the Discovery. Now, I know I had a lot of issues with the way that her character was treated and the way she acted in episode, 6, but that was kind of in relation to her getting fired from her position as first officer. But that's kind of one thing. And again, we'll get to the first officer stuff later, but she is still overall, her entire plot of this, plot arc of this, season is for her to kind of grow through the idea of having been alone for a year. How does she refit back in with the crew and with Starfleet and following orders? And how does she reconcile her current, kind of attitude and her past attitudes into something brand new? And this was a really great, kind of progression with that. I have said before that I really appreciate when they give Sonequa more things to do other than just cry and be super serious all the time. I think she's a phenomenal actress, and I think that she deserves to be able to kind of really express a lot of different emotions. I will say, though, that in this episode, she did a lot of crying, and it was very, very serious almost all the time, but she did a phenomenal job kind of portraying the troubled soul that is Michael Burnham, where she is right now, and dealing with the absolute candor from facing with her mother. I'm feeling almost betrayed in that regard, and also just trying to figure out what it is that she's supposed to be doing, and I thought it was good. I thought it was very natural. I thought it felt very good. I still kind of wish she hadn't been fired from her first officer job at this point, or maybe she had never accepted it to begin with, because I felt like that plot point now is kind of like all over the place. But ultimately, I did appreciate the fact that she had an opportunity to really grow into a lot of these feelings that she's having, and which is that she felt like a very strong, renewed sense of purpose and attachment to Starfleet and the Discovery Discovery at the end of this episode, kind of chatting with Book and stuff like that. It was very, very touching, and I like every time that her and Book are together. I think that they have a really great relationship. They have a fantastic dynamic that they've really kind of begun to develop really, really well. It's not super ham-fisted like the situation with Ash Tyler. This one felt very natural. It felt very, very real. I think the two actors are very good together when they're on screen, and every time that she's around Book, we get to see the other facets, I guess you could say, of the Michael Burnham personality, where she always seems a bit too serious all the time with the Discovery crew and what's going on, but when she's with Book, everything seems a bit more relaxed, and I enjoy that. I like to see that, and I do want to see her character mixed with, with Book, and her character mixed with the Discovery become a kind of, new character in a lot of ways, and kind of reboot her personality in some regards. And really, this whole season has been kind of a soft reboot of the entire show, and I think it's working out fairly well. So maybe at the end of this season, we'll actually get a kind of new feeling towards Michael Burnham, where she's a bit more fun and a bit more relaxed, and also still not, focused on her job, but not super serious about keeping the weight of the universe on her shoulders. They're spending a lot of time addressing that, so I'm excited to see what this new character may actually feel like. I know there's a lot of theories out there that Michael Burnham is going to leave Starfleet. I really doubt that, at least from a permanent perspective. That may be kind of a cliffhanger this season, since we already know season 4 is already filming, so they may put that in as a cliffhanger where she may depart Starfleet and maybe return to it. Her being the POV character and the show being called Star Trek Discovery means that she's going to stay in Starfleet, for the rest of the show. Maybe at the end she'll depart, like when the series finale or something like that. But at least for right now, I don't believe that she's going to be departing Starfleet for an extended period of time, just because these two elements have to exist together. That's just how I feel right now. So I don't think that she's going to leave, but I do like the idea of her character kind of getting a soft reset within itself inside of the show, because really, like I said, this whole season is a bit of a soft reset, and it's working out pretty well, so I'm excited to see what that character is. Overall, we didn't really get too much information in regards to the burn this episode, so, that is what it is. A lot of my theory videos from last week or earlier this week came out to be pretty much accurate in terms of what Unification 3 meant. My other theory video, where it's supposedly potentially in the Kelvin timeline, I think is now completely dead, because we literally visited Vulcan, and yeah, I don't think they're playing like a fast one with us, where it's like, well, they're calling it a different name, maybe it's a different planet. They would have brought that up. That's definitely still in the prime timeline. This is not the Kelvin stuff, so I'll admit that theory was bogus. That's done and over with, so she's gone. But I did enjoy, just the kind of, the idiosyncrasies and the kind of communication patterns between the Romulans and the Vulcans, and showing that even though they've been living together for over 100 years now, that they're still kind of combative with each other, and there's a lot of stuff that they have to get over, and there's apparently a lot of issues on the planet and on the the moons that are associated with Vulcan that they're having. I know that Vulcan has no moons, but there's moons within the system of Vulcan. I wouldn't maybe necessarily call them moons, but neighboring planets, colonies, whatever you want to call them. There's issues on all these different locations and stuff like that they're still kind of trying to figure out and navigate, and I feel like the Vulcan/Romulan race is struggling without the guidance and the support of Starfleet and the Federation, but they're also holding them accountable for forcing them to enact this warp portal thing that they think caused the burn. So now there's this bad breakup, but it looks like they're trying to come back together, and hopefully if they do, especially by the end of the season, the Federation and Starfleet are going to be able to help reduce some of the issues that they're having there, and kind of continue to uplift the different races that were part of the founding members of the Federation. I still think that the point of this season is so that the Discovery will lead the Federation back to reunifying itself and kind of getting back out there and kind of getting back into the fight. I think once they discover what actually caused the burn, that will then be able to take place. So I feel like we're kind of moving the needle a little bit here. We didn't get too much information. They just wanted to get information about this special project, which is this new, transportation thing that the Vulcan Romulans think caused the burn, but that Michael Burnham and the Discovery and the Federation disagree with. Now they think it actually has something to do with something else, but they wanted to get some of the sensor data from these other, nodes that the Vulcan Romulans had. So they're trying to gather all their pieces of information in order to build out kind of a, I guess you could say, a ground zero of where the burn kind of resonated from. And who knows, we may even actually see some different points where the burn resonated from. Maybe it wasn't a specific centralized location. Maybe it was several locations all at once, kind of covering all the 4 quadrants. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's what they were doing there. And obviously we got the data at the end, so we'll see what happens in the next episode. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed this episode pretty well. It was a solid episode. Okay. Now we got to talk about the thing that I really, really didn't like. And this is just from my perspective. As you guys know, I am, most of you know, I am an active duty service member. I've been in for many years now. And the idea that Captain Saru would make Ensign Tilly the XO of the Discovery, even as an interim XO, is astronomically stupid. Nothing against the actress, nothing against the character, but she is one of the lowest ranking and the least experienced members on the crew. She doesn't manage a team. She doesn't head up a department. She doesn't know how to lead. Earlier in the episode, earlier in the season, she was panicked about just going on a simple away mission into the unknown. I get that she had like some fun lines, in the previous episode where she was kind of encouraging Saru to follow protocol, but really a lot of the officers on the ship would have probably said the same thing, even though they may not necessarily have had the same attachment to Michael Burnham, so it was more of an emotional hurdle for Tilly, to kind of be like really swallow her friendship with Burnham and be like, listen, you put me in a tough spot, and that was really unfair, and so I had to put Starfleet's ideals first. I get that that's excited Saru. She should have been made, maybe if he was that impressed with her, she should have been made maybe second officer and been promoted. But making her the XO of the ship is just, it would never happen. It is so weird. It is so bizarre. It is way too ham-fisted. It was the worst part of this season so far. And again, that has nothing to do with the actress or the character. They just haven't given her enough to do in order to justify this new position that she has, even as an interim. And ultimately, in my mind, Michael Burnham is going to get the XO position back. So this is all just kind of filler for kind of to let Tilly do some things during the rest of the season until Michael Burnham takes the reins back. That's what I feel like is going to happen. And it was just bizarre. They should have given it to someone else. My vote would have been probably Bryce, because he's on the bridge. He's actually got some, sat in the chair a couple of times. I know Michael Burnham has put him in charge of the chair a couple of times. That would have been my recommendation, not Tilly. Again, maybe a promotion would have been in order, maybe second officer at the most, but XO, that's supposed to be the wisest person on the ship, ready to take the reins at a moment's notice in the event that the captain is not available, incapacitated, or whatever, that she's supposed to then lead the entire ship, and she just doesn't have those chops. They haven't written the character to be in a position to handle that, at least not yet. So if suddenly in the next episode she's like a quick-ass badass on being the XO, it's going to feel out of place, and it's not going to feel very earned. And I'm kind of disappointed that they did this. It seems very ham-fisted and very contrived, which is why I removed this piece of the story from the rest of the episode, because it is so ridiculous that it would have just tanked my feelings for the rest of the entire episode, and that episode doesn't deserve it. There's a lot of cool things. The Vulcan Tribunal, this Romulan stuff going on, the beautiful footage of Leonard Nimoy being back there and having that speech from, Unification. That was beautiful. I loved that. I loved all the elements from that. This plot point is just terrible, and so I just have to separate it, because I don't want it to taint the rest of a really solid episode and a lot of great work there. And again, this has nothing to do, it's not against the character and it's not against the actress. It's just they haven't done enough to set her up for that position yet. She had one line in the previous episode that kind of stood out a little bit, and again, in her first episode, which was the second episode of the season, she was against going on the away mission. Yeah, she did go after she was kind of pressed into it, but even during the bar fighting sequence, she didn't do anything. She just stood there, and Michelle Yeoh and Captain Saru, they did all the work. They did everything. She kind of didn't do anything other than get kidnapped, which is not her fault, but it's like she reacted in a way that an ensign would, which is to kind of panic in that situation, which is bizarre, which fits her character, which is why it's bizarre that now Saru's like, you should be my first officer. Oh, I don't know. I just no. It's not very good. Maybe an assistant to the captain, maybe one of his executive team members, maybe making her a member of the senior bridge crew, which she kind of already is. Those things make sense, but making her the first officer, nah, it was a very weird choice. I felt like we had a lot of other great options there, not only within the Discovery, but maybe somebody from the future. We had Lieutenant Willa that was, serving with the Admiral and stuff like that. Maybe they could have brought her on board. She could have done some things. That would have been a fun addition. It kind of changed up the dynamic a little bit there. Making her the first officer, very, very bizarre. I'm just not a fan. All right, guys and gals, that does wrap up my video for today. Of course, I'm going to have my theories kind of come out later on this week, but I super enjoyed this episode. Again, there was just that one element that I didn't really enjoy all that much, but the rest of this episode I thought was pretty solid. Good entry, and I'm waiting for the next episode that we continue on with Season 3. So, Please go ahead, let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments down below. What did you think about my kind of hate on the Tilly situation with the first officer thing? I'm very curious to hear what you guys thought about that. And while you're down there, please throw a like and a subscribe up on the channel. It not only helps us out here, but it allows you to stay up to date with the latest Star Trek news, movie reviews, book reviews, comic reviews, all the good stuff in relations to the Star Trek universe. I really do appreciate it, and we'll go ahead and get the conversation started. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies!